we are going to finish off with the Sphinx and chest pops. Just going to check out what's going on here. Do you want to come in here and have a little lie down? Do you? This is Frank. Come and lie down on here. Lie down on here. Yes, good boy. Lie down on here. Okay, that's not going to work, is it? No. I'll be out in 5 minutes. I'll leave the door open for him. Maybe he'll decide to go out on his own accord. Okay, we're coming down onto our tummies. In a moment. I'm going to have to edit this out. Right, okay.